Okay, good morning, students. So, so last time we see this table, right? So different types of safe bearing capacity depends on the different types of rocks and soils, right? So, okay. So today we talk about the Prandatal's analysis, right? So, Prandatal give a theory in 1921 for the penetration of punches into the metals, right? So, this theory can be used to determine the ultimate bearing capacity of soil. The analysis is based on the assumptions that the strip footing placed on the ground surface sinks vertically downwards into the soils at the failure, like a punch, right? So basically, this figures which describes this Prandtl analysis, right, shows a failure zones developed below the footings, right? So that the soil in the wedges, right? These are the wedges, right? So this wedges shaped in zone 1 immediately. This zone 1 first impact this or in zone 1 immediately under the footing is subjected to compressive stresses. As the footing sinks, zone 2 exerts pressure on the sides of zone 2 and 3, right? This both are zone 2, which is near to the first zone, and develop zone 3 near to this second zone, right? So the soil on zone 2 is assumed to be in a plastic equilibrium. The zone 2 pushes the zones 3 upwards, right, as you can see in this figure, right? Here QU is your compressive stresses, right? B is the width of foundation, right? And here we took both 2 points which is described as A and B, right? So the Prandtl developed for the ultimate bearing capacity for a strip footing using the theory of plasticity. He assumed the curved part of the slip surface of the shape of a logarithmic spiral, right? For purely cohesive soil, when we consider as a purely cohesive soil, then we take phi is equal to 0, right? So the spirals becomes a circular arc, and the Prandtl analysis give the following equation for the ultimate bearing capacity. So the equation is Qu is equal to in bracket pi plus 2 multiply by C, right? So here, which the value is 5.14 C, where C is the cohesion of the soil. So the above equation indicates that the ultimate bearing capacity of the cohesive soil is independent of the width of the footing, right? So for the cohesionless soils, Prandtl theory shows that the ultimate bearing capacity increases with the increase with the width, right? So the theory is applicable for the footing at the ground surface, which means depth is equal to 0, right? So for the footing at the depth capital D below the ground surface, the allowance can be made by increasing the bearing capacity by gamma multiplied by D. So hence, for the strip footing on cohesive soil, the equation is Qu is equal to 5.14 C plus gamma D, right? So this theory is only valid for the footings with perfectly smooth base in contact with the soil. So as an actual footing have a rough base, the theory does not give accurate results. So these are the Prandtl theory. Now moving forward to the Rankine's analysis, right? So Rankine's gives 19 Rankine gives this analysis 1885, right, which considered the plastic equilibrium of two soil elements, one just below the footing, which is known as element 1, and the other just outside the footing, which is considered as element 2 at the base level of the foundation, as you can see in this figure, right? This we take as element 1 and this we take element 2. The first case is just below the footing and the other case is just outside of the footing, right? Here width of foundation is given, depth of foundation is given, the stress is also given, right? So here zone 1 which is just below the footing and zone 2 is outside of the foundation, right? Now, when the load on the footing increases and approaches a value of Qu, the state of plastic equilibrium is reached under the footing. So the element 1 is on the verge of failure. So for the element 1, the vertical stress is a major principal stress sigma 1, and the lateral stress is the minor principal stress sigma 3, as you can see in this figure, right? So vertical pressures be taken as a sigma 1, right? And for lateral stress, which we known as a minor principal stress, which denoted as a sigma 3, right? So for the shear failure of element 1 and element 2 must also fail by the lateral thrust from the element 1. So during the state of shearing failure, the following principal stress relationship exists, right? So the equation is sigma 1 is equal to sigma 3 times square alpha plus 2c tan alpha. But when there are cohesive soil, then in that case C is equal to 0, right? So the final equation is sigma 1 is equal to sigma 3 10 square alpha. Talking about element 2, right? uh, the specific equation is sigma 3 is equal to sigma v is equal to gamma multiplied by d. So sigma 1 is considered as sigma h. So merge this two equation, right, and put this value in this equation. So our final sigma 1 is equal to sigma h. So that means our equation is gamma d 10 square alpha, right? So coming to the element 1, which means sigma 3 is equal to sigma h, right? So sigma 1 of element 2, the equation is gamma into d 10 square alpha. Here sigma 1 is equal to sigma 3 10 square alpha. So put this value of sigma 3 in this equation. So this value is put in this equation, and our final answer is gamma d 10 raised to 4 alpha, right? But as we know from the above some equations, sigma 1 is equal to qu, right? And qu is equal to gamma d 10 square alpha, right? Then qu is equal to gamma d. Here alpha here how we define this alpha value, right? So alpha value is 45 degree plus 5 by 2. This equation this value is come from this, sorry, right? So 10 square alpha is equal to 1 plus sine alpha divided by 1 minus sine alpha, right? So put this value in this equation, and our final we give this equation as a 2.2, right? So what are the limitations, right? So in this equation 2.2, which gives an approximate value of the ultimate bearing capacity of the soil, but the equation does not give a reliable value, so it is rarely used for the determination of ultimate bearing capacity of foundation soil, right? So Rankine did not consider the cohesion C of the soil. So the bearing capacity is equal to the 0 for depth is equal to 0, right? For example, when the footing is placed at the ground surface, which is contrary to the facts, right? So the minimum depth of foundation can be obtained from the equation 2.2 as written as under, which is d minimum is equal to q by gamma in bracket 1 minus sine phi divided by 1 plus sine phi raised to square, right? Where q is the intensity of loading at the base of the foundation. What are the modes of failures, right? So when the horizontal strip footing resting on the surface of the homogeneous soils, which is subjected to the gradually increasing load, characteristics load settlement curves are obtained. So the load settlement behavior is found to be related to the soil characteristics. Now what are the different types of failure mechanism, right? So based on these are basically based on the pattern of the shearing zones, right? First one is identifies the general shear failure, local shear failure, and the punching shear failure, right? So talking about general shear failure, so if the soil properties are such that as the footing is loaded to failure, a slight downward movement of the footing which develops a fully plastic zone due to which the entire soil along a slip surface fails in the shear, and the soils bulges out on the side of the footing, as you can show in this figure number 3, right? As you can, these are the failures due to bulging sides of the foundation, right? Okay, so this type of failure of foundation soil is known as a general shear failure. So, from the load versus settlement curve, it definitely observed that there is a sudden increase in the settlement of the footing, right? So, and the shear failures of the soil occurs. So, it is this failure is generally characterized by a when-defined failure surface reaching up to the ground surface, a sudden catastrophic failures accompanied by the tilting of foundation, bulging of the ground surface adjacent to the foundation, and the ultimate bearing capacity is well defined, right? So it is generally occurs in the dense sand or stiff clay. Talking about this local shear failure, okay, talking about the local shear failure, right? So, if the soil properties are such that before the plastic zones are fully developed, a large deformations occurs immediately below the footing, right? And then it's resulting in a shear failure of soil in the portion just below the footing, right? As you can see in this figure, this is a local shear failing. It occurs before the plastic zones are fully developed, right? As you can see in this figure, right? So in general shear failure, the first it develops some exit plastic, right? It first appears in the plastic zone, right? It's fully developed, and then it trying to failure the footing, right? And then failures are occur. And here there are sudden or catastrophic failures occur in local shear failure, right? So when the load per unit area on the foundations, right, when the load per unit area of the foundation equals QU, the foundation movement is accompanied by a sudden jerk, right? So the load per unit area at which it happens is the ultimate bearing capacity QU. Beyond that, the point on increasing in load will accompanied by the large increase in foundation settlement. So the following are the typical characteristics of local shear failure, right? So a failure surface is well defined only immediately below the footing. A slip surface not visible beyond the edge of the foundation. The failure surface do not reach ground surface. The failure is not sudden and there is no tilting of footing. Failure is defined by large settlements. Ultimate bearing capacity is not well defined, right? So, generally, this failure occurs because of sand or clay soils of medium compaction, right? So, moving to the third topic, which is punching shear failure, right? So this punching shear failure occurs where there is a relative high compression of soil under the footing accompanied by the shearing in vertical direction around the edge of the footing. So the failure surface, which is vertical and slightly inclined, never reaches the ground surface. So there is no having of the ground surface away from the edges and no tilting of the footing, right? So the following are the characteristics of punching shear failure, right? First one is no failure pattern is observed. The failure surface, which is vertical or slightly inclined, follows perimeter of the base. There is no bulging of the soil around the footing. There is no tilting of the footing. Failure is characterized in the terms of large settlement, and the ultimate bearing capacity is not well defined, right? So, what are the difference between general shear failure and local shear failure, right? So, in such failure, soil properties are such that the slight downward moment of the footing develops fully plastic zone and bulges out on the sides of the footing. In the local shear case, the soil properties are such that large deformations occurs immediately below the footing, right? Before the plastic zones are fully developed, right? General shear failures occurs at a low strain, which is less than 5%, and local shear occurs at a high strain, which is as between 10 to 20 percentage. A general shear angle of shearing resistance phi, which is greater than 36, and here in local case, phi is less than 29 degree. SPT value n is greater or equal to 30 in general case, and in local case SPT value is n, which is less than or equal to 5. density index for general shear is greater than 70, and for local case is less than 20. For load versus settlement curve, failure point is well defined, and for local shear failure, settlement load versus settlement curve failure point is not well defined. Shear soil parameters in which cohesion is equal to C and angle of internal friction phi are taken in general shear failure, right? But talking about local shear failure, Tirzagi has proposed the following shear soil parameters, which is C dash is equal to 2/3 of C and 5 dash is equal to 10 inverse in bracket 2/3 10 5. If the void ratio E less than 0.55, so the general shear failures would occur. And if the void ratio E greater than 0.75, then local shear failure occurs, right? So, in the general shear failure, the failure surface reaches up to the ground surface, and in local, the failure surface do not reach up to the ground surface. So, general failure usually occurs in a dense sand or stiff clay. When on the other side, the local shear failure occurs in sand or clay soil of the medium compensation, medium compaction, right? So we stop our lecture here. In the next lecture we talk about the Tezagi's bearing capacity theory, right?